Cody. We are here again on Wednesday noon. You guys should be here every single week because we talk about all sorts of real estate stuff. We talk about all sorts of mortgage stuff. So if you're in the business, if you're in the industry, and you need to have some information, this is where they should go. Correct, Cody?
Correct. Absolutely.
Yes.
If you need technology questions or anything, this might not be the spot to come to.
Dude, I am so anyways, I'll do a quick intro. If you don't know me, my name is Joe Skipper. I own a real estate company. I think it's Skipper Realty Group, brokered by EXP Realty here in Oregon. My buddy Cody Wilhelm is with me with residential mortgage. Hello,
Yes.
sir.
Hey. I would ask how you're doing, but I actually, yeah.
You
How you
know,
doing, Joe? How
you
you
know,
doing?
dude, it has been a disaster. So we have all sorts of now new equipment with our podcasts and things like that. And I just, yeah, to a little backstory, I couldn't get my mic working, couldn't get my headphones working at the exact same time for this live stream. So we're a little bit late. Cody was trying to help me. I felt like an 80-year-old man trying to figure out technology. And I feel like I'm pretty confident in technology and obviously not. So
My
anyways, I
favorite
think that
part about it though is when I'm trying to talk to you and you can't hear me, and half the time I can't hear you. So it's like a lot of hand gestures and mouth reading, and
I know. We need to
we look
just
like
have a
mimes.
we need to have like a little notepad and we tell each other
Yeah.
exactly what's going on. That's absolutely
Yeah.
insane. So I'm a little flustered today. So let's get started. We
Yes.
put out some questions and some things that people wanted to know about on these podcasts, and we probably or this live stream, sorry. And we probably can't cover it all because Cody and I blab about one question for 15 minutes and we don't want to waste everyone's time, but we'll get started, man. I guess like one of the things that people were wondering, and I think it's pretty helpful to know or to learn about lending in the lending industry of kind of what you do in the background. Like I think a lot of people, I think this goes for us and probably the same with lending, is when things go smoothly, I think our clients, some clients can think that, what's the purpose of you? Like,
Yeah.
what did you do for me? Because everything just went by and sailed smoothly. So I'm just kind of curious, like kind of if you could kind of go into kind of some of maybe the background stuff that you do that for clients that we don't necessarily see, but
Hmm.
that helps the transaction go smoothly.
Yeah. So it's a good point because there are some times where, if you have somebody that is very well qualified and they have everything in order, I mean, it can be a pretty straightforward process. There's one loan that really stands out to them, and it's really just kind of formulating everything, putting it together. But the other 99% of the time, it is, I mean, it can be credit work. There's a lot of credit work to be done for some people. So sometimes you're working with somebody for 6 months to 2 years before they really even get to the point of being under contract or in a position where they can actually qualify. So sometimes it's helping business owners on understanding how they need to structure their taxes, and maybe you need to bite the bullet and pay a little bit more in taxes, but here's how it works. Here's how the calculations go. So I guess to not go over every scenario, a lot of it ends up being just prep work on getting them to a point of qualifying. And then on the other side of it too is when they do qualify, it's a lot of education. It's a lot of understanding, here's all the different loan programs that work for you. Here's why they're all different. Here's which one I think makes the most sense, but ultimately it's your choice. Now you have four different options, and you have an understanding of what's going on. Maybe it's explaining all the closing costs and what your options are there. Explaining mortgage insurance. Like a lot of it ends up being a good amount of education and understanding of what's going on. But then also, when an offer is getting put out there, I'll call the listing agent, introduce myself, let them understand what loan type it is, how much information we have verified, and some of those things they're just little steps, but they can make a big impact, right? Like if you don't do it, that might be fine, but if you do it, then it's going to stand out a lot more.
For
So
sure.
I feel like I'd probably ramble on quite a bit to really go through a lot of it, but I would say a lot of it is just the detail work to get people approved. Once they're
Yeah.
approved, then it's really more of the educational side of things, of just really explaining everything, like why um, why somebody might want to go for this loan option. I'll give a really quick story. I have had it happen where somebody has come to me. They were working with another lender. They came to me and they said, hey, we didn't really like this other lender. He was really pushing us to go into a conventional loan, I think it was, or yeah, conventional loan, FHA loan. I can't remember. It's been a while. But anyways, I'm like, okay, well, that's, I'd love to help you. So get everything worked up. And the loan that the other loan officer was asking them or encouraging them to go into was the only loan that really made sense. But he just never took the time to explain the other loans that they were eligible for and why it might not make sense for them. So they felt like he was steering them in one way for whatever reason, when the reality, he was doing his job. He was doing it
Yeah,
correctly. It just, there sometimes it's just those extra little steps of, for you and I both, like there's a lot of things that we do and know and understand that we understand because it's what we do every day. But for other people, it's not just common knowledge. So
for
sometimes
sure.
it seems like, oh, well, you know, I, yeah, this loan doesn't make sense for you, but I still need to explain that to you because what if you go online and you start looking at it and seeing all the benefits to this loan option and you're like, why did my loan officer do this for me? I don't even know now. Can I even trust the guy? So
For sure.
a lot of legwork, but yeah, what
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think I think the communication is the big thing, and I think that,
mhm,
like it's exactly what you said is we have a lot of people that they don't do it all the time. We do it all the time, and we assume that they know. And I think agents fall into this, and lenders fall into this trap of thinking, I assume you know X, Y, Z, and they
mhm,
don't know X, Y, Z. And so it's really communicating. And I think you probably do the same thing. As I really start, you know, from the very beginning with clients and say, look, I don't want to insult your intelligence, but tell me what level you're at
mm,
in the real estate process or in the mortgage. Like what do you know and not know? Because I don't want to insult you, but I also don't want to leave over stuff. So I really, like, from my standpoint, maybe your standpoint, is kind of like getting in the front end and saying, how much do you want me to hold your hand through this? Are
yeah,
you experienced and and you know what you're doing? You just need me to, kind of facilitate things, or is this your first time and you don't have a clue of what a conventional versus an FHA mortgage versus an offer versus a backup offer, And I
mhm,
think, like, agents kind of get into these things, especially when we're busy, in the mode of, hey, we gotta get through, here's what it is, here's what it is, here's what it is, and move on, or
mhm,
helping out a ton of clients, that it kind of gets overlooked and people can have a really bad experience, like thinking they didn't they didn't help me. I had no
yeah.
idea what I was doing the entire time.
Mhm. And I think there's an appreciation too, even if they do know the information, for us to go through that with them,
Yeah,
just because I feel like if at the end of the process you didn't do those things because it's like, oh, you probably already know all this stuff. By the end of it, they're like, I'm actually surprised that he didn't take the time to like walk
yeah,
through some of these things, even though I already know it. Like I'm just, you kind of you leave a little underwhelmed, I think. And so
yeah,
that's the last thing we want is to do a really good job in what we do, but then, like you said, not communicate it properly or
for
not
sure.
really go above and beyond how we would, treat any say first time home buyer that has no clue. Like that's realistically how we should be handling everybody. But when you've had people that have bought multiple times and you don't want to feel like you're insulting them at all by
Yeah.
taking it back down to the basics and everything. But I think sometimes it is a good way to go just to make sure that the understanding and everything is there.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, just the open communication is, because I have had clients that say, "Look, I know what I'm doing. I don't want to hear all this stuff," and that's good to know on the front end, so that when you do skip over things, they already know it. They
Hmm.
versus, like, kind of clients that are like, "I need you to tell me what a loan is. I need you to tell me
Yeah.
what an offer looks like. Walk me through every bit of the contract." But I guess,
Hmm.
like, to our processes, it's interesting. As we're just talking, I was thinking of the connection between a lender and a real estate agent, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys do a lot, and not that you don't do anything during the actual process of the sale,
Hmm.
but you do a lot of heavy front end lifting. It's almost like, to me, I liken the lender and the real estate agent is like that lender's in the very beginning when people are thinking about looking, thinking about buying, thinking about all this process. You go through all of that back end work with them to get them approved, so that when the reins are handed off to the real estate agent and the offer is made and then the real estate agent takes over with all the back end stuff, you, not to say you don't have any work to do, but you've set it up for success from the
Yeah.
from the beginning. And it's almost like you hand the baton over to the real estate agent, who then takes over their heavy back end stuff to get the process to the final thing, and
Hmm.
you are now managing what you've already worked on in the front end. Is that kind of a easy description of kind of how the lender real estate agent,
Yeah.
dynamic works?
Yeah, definitely. I think if the lender is doing it the what I think is the correct way, then yes, that's how it should be done. It should be a lot of heavy lifting in the very beginning before somebody even goes out to start looking for homes. They, us as lenders, we've gone through all of the documentation that's necessary to really give a confident pre-approval. We've ran it through, we verified all the documents. If we need, X, Y, and Z, we've got all that stuff early on. And I mean, I think that's the right thing to do just because you want to really be confident when you're sending out a pre-approval letter, but also the last thing that anybody wants to have happen is somebody gets under contract, you've paid for an inspection, you've paid for an appraisal, we're a week away from closing, and then something comes up because you didn't do all the due diligence early
For
on,
sure.
and now we have a problem. And
For
sometimes
sure.
there are things that come up that's just nobody could have seen it happen. But if it's something that was document related, that was work, income, asset, those are tough because those, in my opinion, those are things that should be taken care of early on.
Yeah.
And then if you do all that legwork, then the loan process itself is much smoother, much easier. It's going to go into processing and underwriting way quicker. There's going to be less hiccups.
Yeah.
So
That's what
yeah,
I
it's
found with people that have worked with lenders like you, and good quality lenders versus poor quality lenders. I don't want to say bad. Is that bad?
yeah,
They're bad lenders, but it. I think that I've had clients regularly throughout the process, up to the sale, being like, I think I have everything for the lender. We don't have
uh-huh.
anything to do, and I think,
Yeah.
and I tell them, I was like, that's a good sign. That's a good that you have already done that legwork versus the clients that have that kind of cut rate lender, and they're
Hmm.
like, I don't know what they're doing. They haven't communicated with me. I don't know what paperwork to send in. I don't, and then there's that panic. So there's
Yeah.
a significant difference in the real estate process. So I would say, like, if you are a buyer and you're middle of the process and you're like, I think we're good, everything seems fine, you're probably with a good lender that's already done all the work, that's kind of helped that process
Hmm.
be more or less seamless through. There's obviously outcomes, things that you guys come up with, job changes and things like that mid
Yeah.
sale and all sorts of stuff. But I think for the
Yeah.
most part, when a buyer's comfortable and they're like, "Yep, I think I got everything into my lender and everything's going smooth," that's a good sign. But it
Uh-huh.
can look like, I think, sometimes to people that maybe don't either appreciate or don't know, they're like, "Well, what did my lender do?" Like,
Right. Yes.
because, but it's like there's a lot of back end stuff that you guys do that makes the whole process smoothly, so,
And
or
that's,
smoother.
it's there's definitely a balance with that too, of figuring out like what is, I don't want to make it sound like, what I'm doing is I'm moving, you know, the earth to do all
Yeah,
this stuff.
yeah,
But I also don't want to make it sound like, oh, this is no problem. Like
for sure.
this will take me 5 minutes. And because then it's like, I don't want to sound like what I'm doing,
Yeah,
it could be done by robots because
yeah,
it can't.
yeah,
But at the same time, there are certain elements to it where it's like you are just figuring everything out. But I'm sure, same thing probably happens on your side of things, whether it's buyers or, listings where the overall image is you show up to a house, you unlock the door,
yep,
and then you write up some paperwork, or
yep.
you put a sign in the front yard that says for sale.
I know.
There's I'm sure a million things that go on behind this. You take 10 trips out to the house before there's even paperwork that's written up, and marketing. So I'm sure you probably have a million different things that you have to go through that don't get seen as well.
For sure. I think there's two parts to that. And the one part is that, especially during the COVID times, we had agents that did it, that did put the sign out and didn't do anything
Hmm.
because people were wanting to sell. They would sell to a monkey. They didn't care. And so we had agents fluctuate into the market that were really just trying to make a quick buck. And they could, because it was, hey, I got my license. I can sell to 5 or 6 of my family members now because everyone wants to sell and everyone wants to buy because rates are so good.
Hmm.
So that's the one part about it, is that we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot in it as an industry because it's an easy entry industry to get into. It's a very difficult industry to stay in. I think the latest stat I heard was like 87% of agents don't make it for after the first 3 years of real estate. And I
Wow.
think I think that's multiple factors, but I think when the getting's good, everyone comes in, and when it's
Mm-hmm.
bad, they either try to get in and they try to stay in and they struggle, or they're just like, "Eh, don't care. I made my money on the front
Mm-hmm.
end and now I'm done." But there
Yeah.
is a lot, and that's, I think, like, with our industry, it's tough because there's a lot that there's a lot that goes on the behind the scenes with lending and with real estate, and you don't want to. It, I struggle with it because you don't want to brag and you don't want to play a victim and say how hard it is, because none of it's rocket science, but I think that it is. There's a lot of back end work that you want to make the client feel like it's a seamless transaction. With
Mm-hmm.
what comes with that is people saying, "Well, it was so seamless. What'd you do?" And so you're
Mm-hmm.
always balancing with, like, "Oh, I did this, which made it seamless. I'm doing this, which makes it seamless. I talked to the agent, 14 times today, up to 10 o'clock at night, trying to get everything done with the inspection and all." There's just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that back end work. We enjoy it, so I'm not saying it as
Yeah.
something that everyone needs to feel bad for me, because one, I signed up for it, and two, I enjoy doing it to make the process seamless for the seller,
Mm-hmm.
or the buyer. But it's a difficult thing to to show, to show the work, because you're almost like wanting to show it like homework, like, here's my proof of all I did.
Yes.
But they're like,
Yeah.
first off, don't care.
Here's my
Second,
journal.
you want to, yeah, you just want it to be seamless. So yeah, that's an issue that I think all good real estate agents face, is kind of showing the value to the client. And I think for me, it's really communicating with them on a regular basis. I think, again, we assume that they know everything
Mm-hmm.
that's going on. So I think even for me, first off, detailing what we do in the front end and saying, this is what the process with my company is going to be like. This is how we treat you. This is step by step exactly what you're going to get from us, from
Mm-hmm.
the time we list to the time you make the offer to the time it closes, but also continuously communicating to them, what's going on in the background. Hey, nothing to worry about. I just want to let you know X, or I just want to let you know this, or I talked to the
Mm-hmm.
lender and did this. I think what I found is, like, communicating with people, um, on the back end, just, and again, not to complain, but just to say, hey, here's what's going on, here's the update, or nothing to update. I think that shows
Mm-hmm.
that, like, the kind of the client starts to subliminally see or feel, okay, they're staying up to date with my
Yep.
purchase, my house. I'm not just a widget, not just someone that's one of his many sales. It's
Yeah.
actually a person that I treat like a family member, and I care about, and I care that this deal goes well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's tough for both of us to kind of justify that, especially with the places like Rocket Mortgage. Not to, I probably shouldn't shout down that,
Yeah.
but those sort of places
Yeah.
that you're a quantity, not a quality.
Mm-hmm.
But they pitch such an easy. It looks like, oh man, why wouldn't I go with them? They're so
Yeah.
much
You just click a
easier.
few
But
buttons. You're good to go.
but but it's just not the case, and you see it time and again, of like people failing on that, and the same
Mm-hmm.
things with the larger real estate companies as well here, that the discount brokerage is, hey, we can sell your house for half of what this agent sells. Well, yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
might be able to, they might not, and they also, your experience is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting on a soapbox, but it is like it. I think we've done that to ourselves too, as an agency, or as real estate agents. I think we have allowed the bad ones to stay in too long, and people
Mm-hmm.
have had bad taste in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Christina has a client recently that was the same way. She said, my agent didn't do this, didn't do that, and people just accepted that was like the norm,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they get the quality they get from agents. So I think we've done a disservice to ourselves, but I think the good
Mm-hmm.
part is that when these rates hit, the bad ones leave, and the good
Yep.
ones the good ones hang on. So
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that we didn't even touch on that I just figured I'd bring up that we don't have to talk about much is, a lot of times, especially if people are looking at getting into the business, they see the kind of the glamorous side of it, or
yeah,
maybe the social media side of it. But one
for
thing that
sure.
I think gets overlooked too is, where are you going to get your business from? Because that ultimately is the hardest part of everything that we do.
Yep.
Is, like you said, COVID years, it was easier because everybody was looking to buy and sell. When
Hmm.
it's harder, it's you're spending the majority of your time trying to figure out where you're going to get the business from. And then once you finally get it, then it's like, okay, now it's step two of my process. And then, so there's a lot that goes into it for sure. And it's a very rewarding profession to be in, I think, for both of us too.
Yeah.
And you get the highs and the lows just like every other job.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's just one of those industries. I think, I think yours is a little bit different. I think ours is such an easy entry into it, that it's,
Yeah.
that I think that's kind of where we kind of have to fight that battle of the reputation or the stereotype of an agent, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
um, I came in, like I think we've talked about it before, I came in with my in-laws, have been in real estate forever, and so my thought of an agent was not the negative. It was because
Yeah.
they treated everyone like family, like truly took they were passionate about each sale, each purchase, and so
Mhm.
I just assumed it. We used them before I was a real estate agent. We used them for our sales and our purchases, and I was like, that's the norm for agents, until I got into the industry. And I was like, okay, things can be different, and
Yeah.
just like any industry, I guess there's good and bad people out there.
Yep.
And so we gotta always fight that rep.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
anyways, man, again, we talk forever. We had some more questions.
I
You and
know.
I talk a lot.
Oh, I
But
just dropped that.
oh, what do
Yes.
you got?
Sorry.
What do you got going on there? Is
I
it your
kicked
mic
the
slowly dropping, or we
I
got
ki-
like?
I kicked the headphone wire and everything almost came crashing down.
Oh, nice, nice. Well,
Yeah.
I'm realizing that my light is reacting to my noise, like behind me. I don't know what's making it.
Oh,
I don't know if you
nice.
saw that, but anyways.
So you have like a
Anyways,
dance
man.
party and it'll beep when
Yes,
it's
I
when
guess
it's
so. I might
flashing.
as well, because this has been a disaster, you setting up this morning. So I think it went okay. It'll be good enough
Yes.
for our large following to see.
Yes.
So
Oh, I'm sure we'll hear it in the comments.
oh man. Okay, well, it's good talking to you, man.
Yep, you
We'll
too.
come back next week and chat some more. We still got some podcast interviews. I feel like we're like a broken record with this podcast stuff, but
Yeah.
we're just about there getting it going. If I can learn how to work a mic, then we might be a little faster, but
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that's
as you can
that's
probably tell, we're not exactly it is a DIY show here, so we're figuring it
uh,
out.
it works for us. But
Yeah.
anyways, man. Okay, well, thanks so much, and we
All right,
will
man.
see you next week.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, see you, man.